Picture this. You're standing in an ice cream shop, staring at a dizzying array of flavors. Suddenly, the simplest decision becomes an overwhelming task. You're caught in a swirl of tantalizing options, from classic chocolate to exotic lychee, each one as appealing as the next. Faced with a smorgasbord of mouth-watering possibilities, you find yourself frozen, not by the chilly treats but by indecision. The clock is ticking, the line behind you is growing, and yet you stand there stuck in a seemingly endless loop of what-ifs and maybes. This isn't just a quirky quirk or a moment of indecisiveness, it's a psychological phenomenon that we've all fallen victim to at some point. It's called analysis paralysis, a state where we're so overwhelmed by choices that we find it impossible to make a decision. And that, dear friends, is a classic case of analysis paralysis. So, what's happening in our brains when we're faced with too many choices? Well, let's first understand that our brains are essentially decision-making machines. Every moment, our brains are processing information, weighing options, and making decisions. Now, when it comes to simple choices, like deciding whether to step left or right to avoid a puddle, our brains can make a swift decision without much effort. However, when we're faced with an abundance of options, things get a bit more complicated. This is where we encounter the paradox of choice. Coined by psychologist Barry Schwartz, this concept suggests that while we might think having more options gives us more freedom, it actually leads to increased stress and anxiety. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a bookstore and you're looking for a good mystery novel. If there are 3 books to choose from, you can quickly read the back covers, maybe flip through a few pages and make a decision. But what if there are 300 books? Suddenly the task of choosing becomes exhausting. You might find yourself stuck, unable to decide, and perhaps even leave the bookstore without buying anything. That's analysis paralysis in action. What's happening in your brain is that it's working overtime, trying to process all the information about each choice. It's trying to predict each potential outcome and weigh the pros and cons. This cognitive overload can lead to decision fatigue, where your brain simply gets tired of making decisions. You might also experience anxiety over the fear of making the wrong choice, especially when each option seems equally appealing. The brain, you see, is wired to seek certainty and avoid risk. When we have too many choices, it creates uncertainty and perceived risk, which can send our decision-making process into a tailspin. Turns out our brains aren't always fond of having too many options. But don't worry, as daunting as it may seem, there are some practical strategies to help navigate the maze of decision-making. But more on that later. Now you might be thinking, so what? I spend a few extra minutes choosing ice cream, big deal, but sometimes the stakes are higher. Imagine a bright college grad named Alex. He's got a degree in one hand and an ocean of opportunities in the other. But instead of diving in, he's paralyzed at the shore, unable to decide which career path to take. The fear of choosing the wrong one, of missing out on something better, keeps him stuck in place. That's analysis paralysis, and it's more than just stressful, it can stall your life. Take another scenario. Meet Sarah, a young professional ready to buy her first home. She's visited dozens of properties, scrutinized every detail, compared every price. But the more options she sees, the more she fears making a bad investment. Weeks turn into months. The perfect house seems always one viewing away. Analysis paralysis has turned a thrilling milestone into an exhausting ordeal. Or consider Tom trying to decide what to eat for dinner. He scans the menu back and forth. The waiter is waiting, his friends are waiting, but he can't make up his mind. It's just a meal, but the pressure to choose the best dish out of dozens is overwhelming. What should have been a fun night out becomes an anxiety-ridden event. These stories aren't just about making decisions, they're about the emotional toll of being stuck in a loop of overthinking, the anxiety, the self-doubt, the missed opportunities. They're about the practical consequences too, the wasted time, the lost momentum, the frustration. And it's not just about the big decisions. Analysis paralysis can creep into the everyday, turning simple choices into complex dilemmas. It can make you second-guess your instincts, question your judgment, and lose confidence in your ability to make choices. These are more than just decisions. They're life-altering moments frozen in time. But fear not, there's a way out of this decision-making paralysis. We've all been there, stuck in a whirlwind of choices, feeling like we're in a maze with no clear path out. But rest assured, there are strategies to help us navigate this. Firstly, setting personal deadlines can be a game changer. When we have all the time in the world to make a decision, we tend to overthink. By setting a deadline, we create a sense of urgency that encourages us to be decisive. It's like telling your brain, hey, we've got until Tuesday to decide which job offer to accept. This forces us to prioritize, to weigh our options more efficiently. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if I make the wrong decision? Well, that brings us to the next strategy, embracing the possibility of making imperfect choices. Perfection is a myth. There's no such thing as a perfect decision because we can't predict the future. We can't know how things will turn out, and that's okay. We learn more from our mistakes than from our successes. So instead of striving for perfection, strive for progress. Each decision, whether it turns out to be right or wrong, is a step forward, a chance to learn and grow. Limiting your options is another effective strategy. While it might seem counterintuitive, having fewer choices can actually make decision-making easier and less stressful. Let's go back to the ice cream shop. Instead of pondering over 31 flavors, narrow it down to your top 3 favorites and choose from those. By limiting your options, you reduce the mental energy required to make a decision. Lastly, don't forget to trust your gut. Sometimes our instincts can guide us better than any logical analysis. If you feel strongly about a choice, it might be your subconscious telling you something. It's important to balance rational thought with intuition. But remember, overcoming analysis paralysis doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it's okay to take baby steps. Start with small decisions like what to have for breakfast or which movie to watch. As you get more comfortable, you can apply these strategies to bigger decisions, and don't be too hard on yourself. We all experience analysis paralysis at some point. It's a very human thing. But by recognizing it and actively working to overcome it, we can make decision-making less daunting. So the next time you find yourself stuck, remember these strategies. Set a personal deadline, limit your options, embrace imperfect choices, and trust your gut. And most importantly, remember that it's okay to make mistakes. We're all learning, all growing, and every decision is a step on that journey. Remember, progress, not perfection, is the goal. So go out there and make some decisions. You've got this. Overcoming analysis paralysis isn't about avoiding decisions. It's about learning to navigate them with confidence. It's about understanding that perfection is an illusion, and that making a decision, any decision, is often better than making no decision at all. Let's recap. We've all been there, standing in front of an array of options, frozen by indecision. Whether it's as simple as choosing a flavor at an ice cream shop or as complex as deciding on a career path, the phenomenon is the same: analysis paralysis. It's that feeling of being overwhelmed by options, of being stuck in a state of indecision, of being unable to move forward. We've delved into the psychology of decision-making, unraveling how our brains process choices and how, paradoxically, having too many options can lead to decision fatigue and anxiety. We've shared stories of individuals who've experienced analysis paralysis in significant life decisions and highlighted the emotional and practical consequences of being stuck in this state. But we've also offered practical strategies to overcome analysis paralysis. We've talked about setting personal deadlines, about limiting options, about embracing the possibility of making imperfect choices. We've encouraged you to break the cycle of overthinking, to move towards decisive action. So, what's the path forward? It's recognizing when you're falling into the trap of analysis paralysis. It's understanding that it's okay to make a choice, even if it's not the perfect one. It's giving yourself permission to make a decision, to take a step forward, to move on from the fear of the unknown. Remember, life is full of choices, both big and small. And while making decisions can be overwhelming, it's also an opportunity for growth, for learning, for progress. So don't let fear of making the wrong choice hold you back. Embrace the journey, embrace the uncertainty, embrace the opportunity to learn and grow. So next time you're faced with a sea of ice cream flavors, remember, it's just ice cream. Make a choice, enjoy it, and if it's not your favorite, well, there's always next time.